Hey there everyone, Lord Fidget here with another round of Ether Raids gameplay. This video covers the most recent Chaos and Astra seasons. I did decide to go ahead and combine those two seasons because it was just easier that way. I led things off with the mystery theme team into this prison setup. I did keep the mystery theme team from Chaos season number 2 around, since Naga is release 3, so she was a bonus unit this time. I believe the bonus unit last time was Marth, and I think I also had Tiki in there. So that's the composition change. I decided not to break a bunch of the structures on the map to prevent the enemy cavalry from moving towards my team while I took care of the rest of the enemies. And once those were all gone, that was when I placed Sita in range of, well, not really in range of Leaf, next to the defense fortress, which means he can at least see her and start moving towards her. Erica also ended up moving too, and that surprised me briefly, and then I remembered that because Erica can't target my units, she defaults to targeting her allies, or her ally, in this case Leaf, her goal being to stay as close to him as possible while being as safe as possible, so that's why she moved, and that's why she moved specifically to the defense tile. So that is match number 1. For match number 2, I deployed the Sita team against this, honestly, you could also call this a prison setup. Prison is valid, Cav Pressure is valid. I took advantage, again, of the force tile on this map, and placed Legendary Sita just to the right of it, where so Seliph can't actually get to her, only Lysithea can, and she doesn't have Hardy Bearing, so Legendary Sita was able to take her on no problem. I also took advantage of the fact that Seliph requires him to move to an enemy or an enemy to move to him before beginning combat to get a lot of bonuses, including, I believe, his attack and speed bonuses from his Weapon and A passive, as well as the Miracle effect. So I just made sure those weren't active by having Sita wait and then giving her a refresh from Azura, and she was able to take him down no problem. She was also able to deal with the Gatekeeper. She needed 2 rounds of combat because I didn't really have a way to take his follow-up prevention effect out of the equation. But it ended up not being a super huge deal. And after taking that out of the note, I just needed to grab the ether structures while avoiding the Brave Hector, which wasn't super difficult since he is a 1-move armor, but I did make it more difficult than it needed to be because I wasn't really paying attention to who he was targeting. He is targeting Sita Talus's heart, and the way I just kind of moved her back and forth between columns 3 and 4 made Hector do the same, and it really just wasn't doing me any favors. As you can see here, he's actually blocking my access to the Ether Fountain, and eventually I realized what was happening. It's like, oh, well, that was silly of me, and I was able to have Legendary Sea grab the Ether Fountain and see the Sea Blossom pair finish him off. For match number 3, I'm actually going to play this footage at normal speed because there's a lot to unpack here. This is a very well-invested team. I believe they were all fully merged, and then the main attackers had Sea Feud to neutralize stuff like Caduceus Staff from Flame, Holy Ground from Elamine, blah, 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 blah. I tried to have Kia Staff only hit Azura by applying False Start to her, but I forgot that Eliwood has chills, so Lilina got the Kia Staff as well, so that really sucked. That was one of many miscalculations. Another was that I thought that Azura would refresh from below Note, not from below Lilina. My bad on that one for not reviewing the AI rules on from which space an assist is provided. And then third, I actually thought Nina was going to be able to perform a follow-up attack on Idun and thus have the damage mitigated by 70%. But that didn't happen. I think it was a combination of the catch not being active, since the Idun's demonic breath neutralizes penalties, and she definitely wasn't at full HP. And the solo was also not active, and Idun actually stacks a decent amount of speed with a bonus doubler and the Divine Fang 2 bonuses. So some unfortunate events causing Idun to fall there, but the match wasn't unplayable, so I decided to just keep going and see what I could do. Because I spent a lot of time trying to figure out whether or not Idun would survive, and all for that all to just have been calculated out and then everything was wrong was a tad upsetting. And I felt that I didn't really feel like going through that whole song and dance again on a different map, so I decided to keep going and see see where the clear led me. And it led me to a 1-death victory, which I figured was acceptable for the time investment I had put into it. So I just decided to go ahead and keep the clear as it was, and just do better next time. For match number 4, I deployed the Sita team against this another prison setup, this one with a lot of staff units. I'm not really sure what the story is behind this team. I'm sure there is a very interesting one. I just have no idea what it could possibly be. The Sitas all actually have pretty good res, and even Azura and even Naga also have decent res as well. So it's really would have been no issue to have one of them take a blow here. But what I ended up doing was just I think a turn of hit and run, and then a turn of letting one of the healers attack while I stalled for time to grab the Ether Amphorae over on the the right edge of the map. Yeah, I ended up taking out the Veronica. I'm not sure how I came to the conclusion that she was more threatening than the Sarah, but I just decided, you know what? This is, I'll have the Sarah hit me, and then finish off the map on the next turn. For match number 5, I deployed the Sita team against this heavy Cav Pressure setup. No hardy bearing on any of these units, which is a bit of an oversight, especially in Chaos season, when you can really run just about whatever you want. Legendary Sita is on the table even when it's not water season, so something just to be aware of, I guess. I did intend to initiate turn 1, but I moved my units in the wrong order, so I wasn't able to get Legendary Sita into the right spot. So I just decided to wait until turn 2. But after that, she was able to use Faithful Loyalty to sweep her way through all of the enemy cavalry. And then Note is moving towards Sita Talis' Heart, so it was a pretty easy operation to grab the Ether Structures and have Naga grab the bonus KO to finish the map. In match number 6, I deployed the Sita team into another Cav Pressure setup. This one has a bit of a rally trap element. Eliwood has a rally, so if you place a unit in range of... oh, jeez. What's her name? I feel bad. For some reason, I just can't remember what this character's name is. Letizia, yeah. If you place a unit in range of Letizia, Eliwood will rally her. And I didn't want him to get a refresh after that, so I had Legendary Sita placed in such a way so that Azura would be able to hit her. I wasn't sure if she would be able to handle the Crom, so I just decided I'll hide her behind the tactics room and have that not be an issue. I didn't get a bonus unit KO on this map, which was unfortunate. Yeah. For match number 7, I deployed the Edelgard team into this map of units. I'm not really sure what to call this strategy, if there even is one. I did a turn 1 initiation, having Edelgard go through Crom and both of the cavalry, and had Legendary Leif take on Duma. I left Mirabilis alive because she is no threat to either of the units that are in range of her. She is actually too slow to even perform a follow-up on Legendary Leif, so that's not a difficult decision there by any means. And then after that, it was just a matter of grabbing the Ether Structures and finishing off the fallen Edelgard in the corner. I believe with Lethality, Yuri was actually able to land an exact KO, so that was pretty nice. For match number 8, I deployed the Sita team against this. I guess you could call it space coverage. I don't know. It doesn't cover a whole lot of ground, but there's a decent amount there. I actually made another very serious miscalculation on this map. I forgot, or perhaps I just never even realized, that the Marita has even Tempest. And I was initially intending to do a turn 2 initiation. And when I saw that wasn't going to work, I just said, all right, I'll just wait for another turn. And then even Tempest activated and Legendary Sita went down. I was like, oh, well, that's tad embarrassing. Like before, I decided to just play it out and see where the clear went. And it eventually led to a trap on the Leaf over in the corner. So obviously this is a pretty easy win if I want it. And eventually I decided, yeah, okay, I don't really want this one. It didn't, it was it's not too much of a loss to just surrender this and try for another. So I did end up doing that, burned a ladder, surrendered the match, and in return I got this, which is just another prison setup that I deployed the Ceta team against. A whole lot of locking cavalry behind the forest tile on this map this season. I'm not really sure what the deal is with that. I did. I think this map actually went the full 7 turns because I was trying to play around the assist skills on Legendary Crom Legendary Crom. Valentine's Crom, I guess I'll call him, and Legendary Lucina. I guess I could just call the skills by their names: to Change Fate and Future Vision, probably Future Vision 2, actually. Yeah, so that was a little interesting. The assists themselves are annoying to deal with, but in this case, the units are actually hindered a lot by that force tile. I did want to take out the Crom here, but he was on a defense tile, so unfortunately Ceta was not able to do that. Usually she is able to one-shot Duocrom there. Oh yeah, Duocrom, I can call him that. But in this case, she was not able to do so. I say that, I mean specifically one-shot Duocrom in Chaos Season, just because he doesn't have extra bulk from Mythic stats. So I wasn't able to do that, and as a result, I just needed to take a little extra time to make sure I could clear the map safely. And now we move on into Astra Season, kicking things off with the Canto Abuse team against this prison-style setup. Not really sure what the deal is with all the prison setups recently. They just, I don't know, I've never really liked them. They seem so ineffective. I kicked things off by having Yuri attack Mirabilis up in the corner, and then I broke the fake Kagami Mochi structure to force the enemies to start advancing towards me. Without the refresher, they can't do a whole lot, and in fact, the last movement wild card is the Harmonic Catria. And fortunately, with the way the enemies moved, she ended up right in front of Yuri. She actually was too fast for him to KO her outright. I was able to apply Sweet Dream penalties and get a stack onto Yuri's Blade Session to have him get the speed necessary to perform a follow-up attack on her. So that was good. And then the last potential annoyance is that because the map is so cavalry heavy, there was a danger that they might get to me before I could safely secure the Aether Amphora over on the right edge of the map. But fortunately, the Emir has Canto, and she was able to just provide a rally and zip all the way up to the upper left area and just not provide any hindrance at all to grabbing that final Aether structure. So that was a pleasant surprise. I was actually pretty afraid that I wouldn't be able to get that structure safely, but thanks, Emir, for doing what you did. In match number 2, I deployed the Edelgard team against this, looks like it's a Golden Deer theme team, honestly. And who better to take out a Golden Deer theme team than Edelgard, am I right? I kicked things off with a pretty standard hit-and-run strike, using Foul Play to get Edelgard in range to take out Saros and one of the Clods. And then I had her retreat. And then on turn 3, I actually made a miscalculation. I think I just assumed that Edelgard was going to activate Gale Force, but she ended up not doing that. I think Byleth has the drive tempo or something like that. That or she just didn't have Heavy Blade active. I forget which. It's something like that. I was fortunately able to KO everyone except for one Byleth. And I was able to trap that Byleth in amongst the rest of the enemy's structures. So it ended up not being a huge deal, but yeah, definitely a miscalculation on my part. For match number 3, I deployed the Canto Abuse team against this, you could also probably call this a prison setup rather. I took a bit of a different approach here compared to what I would usually do. which is go ahead and KO a unit. In this case, I couldn't reach anybody that I figured was worth KOing. And Yuri can take down Saros with Divine Fang's 2's bonuses. But in this case, I wanted to have Mirabilis forced to continue refreshing Cecilia. So I just did a little chip on the Saros with Yuri, and then had the enemies start moving towards me. And because nobody was KO'd, Cecilia still has her action taken at the beginning of the turn, forcing Mirabilis to refresh her. After that, it was just a matter of picking off the most immediately dangerous units, and just trying to make sure that Mirabilis, now not being forced to refresh the Cecilia, would not be able to refresh anybody into my team. And fortunately, because the Maria had a rally, the Maria went around rallying her allies who are all under threat from Yuri and his massive range. And she was forced to provide refreshes to the Maria, which is about as helpful as providing refreshes to the Cecilia from her initial position. I did actually have some minor troubles in dealing with the Maria. Just the mitigation was mildly annoying, and not a huge deal at the end of it all, but took a little thinking to get the KO down on her. For match number 4, I deployed the Canto Abuse team once more into whatever you call this. I went for a pretty aggressive player phase strategy here, going for a trap. Notice that Lysithea and Peony are pretty easily trapped by placing a unit where Shamir currently is. So I decided to break a bunch of structures on the right-hand side to set up. And then on turn 3, I had Yuri take out Shamir, Canto up straight 2 spaces, and then I moved Erica up into range to attack Flora, and then Naga moved up to provide one piece of the triangle attack requirement for Katria, and then Plumeria warping to refresh Erica provided the second. It turned out to not be necessary. I just kind of assumed that negating Fang would reduce enough damage for Corrin to survive a single hit, but Divine Fang too strong, I guess. And then I just had to grab the structures and finish Lysithea off. In match number 5, I deployed the Canto Abuse team against this space oppression setup. You can really call it space oppression? I guess you could call it space oppression. Interesting thing here is there's no Canto control. So what I was able to do was set up a very aggressive strategy where I broke a bunch of structures, blocking my units from reaching the refreshers, and then taking out both of them to force the enemies to start moving. So that was pretty interesting, I thought. So as you can see, Regan is going to grab the catapult here on turn 3, and that clears the way to take out Rayson on turn 4 while she still has Canto active. So with a couple quick positioning skills to get Regan close to Rayson and Erica close to Mirabilis, I was able to take out both of them and then just wait to see how the enemies decided to respond. The enemies moved in a mildly troublesome manner, I guess. The fact that I can't get to the Volca safely is the most annoying thing here. So I just had to just kind of steer clear of him and set up triangle attack again. And fortunately, Ileana's just fairly stationary in this scenario. And actually, what ended up happening, I believe, is Regan has been doing so much combat that she actually has Gale Force active after taking down the Volca, so she was able to do that. And despite the fact that she no longer had Canto, she was able to safely escape Ileana's range, and that is a pretty straightforward finisher to this map. In match number 7, I deployed the Corrin Turbo team against this map with enemies on it. The Brave Ike does have a lot of damage reduction effects, but because he has basically no res and no mythic boosted stats, taking him out was no problem. And actually, the Peony didn't even have a weapon, so that made the map even easier. I was able to clear out every enemy except for her, and then just grab the ether structures grab the ether structures before having Lilith finish the job. And then in match number 8... Oh, wait, am I miscounting here? Are we on match number 8? I feel like we're only on... I want to say this is match number 7, because I think there is one more game after this. So I lost track somewhere. Sorry about that. I deployed the Corrin Turbo team against another prison setup, taking out the Dogger with Corrin. And yeah, I mean, pretty standard Corrin Turbo team stuff here. Just took out a bunch of enemies and then ended with a trap on the Happy, because Lilith is able to warp to any space within 2 spaces of Corrin. I was able to have Corrin take out the Mirabilis, and then Lilith finished the trap on the Happy by going up to break the Ether Fountain. And of course, after that, the rest of the map is very simple. Yes, here it is. Match number 8. I deployed the Edelgard team against this... I guess you could call this a 7th slot trap. It's not a traditional 7th slot trap where you would get a refresh on the 7th slot unit, a rally on the refresher, and then a second refresh on the rallier. This one is just Ninian rallies Niffle. Niffle gets an extra point of movement because she's a dragon, and you just basically have to hope that the enemy placed a unit in range. I was able to take advantage of Idun's Far save by having Yuri attack Otter to get to her, and because of Elamin's Holy Ground, the bonfire did not straight up one-shot him, so that was very nice. And then it was just a matter of grabbing the ether structures to end the map. I was actually kind of afraid that Mirabilis might go down left towards Elamin. I'm not sure why I was worried about that. Elamin is pretty fast, much faster than Plumeria, so obviously Mirabilis is still going to go ahead and target her. So yeah, pretty straightforward end to this match as well. And that is it. I hope you all enjoyed this installment of Aether Raid's gameplay. Hopefully it wasn't too long/tedious with the doubled up seasons there. I am hoping to get back onto my usual upload schedule next week with a video for the ongoing Light season, so do look forward to that. And as always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.